My name is Nicola. I am simply a stitcher. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, it's great to have you, and if you're returning, thank you for coming and spending some time with me today. So today's video is going to be something a bit different, something I have been asked for. As you can see, I've got my Night Cafe out, which is a supersized max colour Heaven and Earth design. This piece I've been stitching in tent stitch 2/1 on some 25 count. Now, you know, with all my other videos that whenever I do a stitch with me, I have already done the how I start and end my threads video, but I've been asked if I can do one about this because it is slightly different. So what I figured I'd do is I've got a square here that's semi-confetti. So I'm going to work through this square or a portion of this square so that I can show you the basics of how I do the starting and ending my thread. So for this piece, I'm working it 2/1, as I said, and it's always with a loop start. My stitch begins, I will always bring the thread up through the bottom left hole in the 4 holes that you would have on your stitch. I always bring it up through the bottom left. Whether or not I'm working left to right or right to left, because I'm doing the snake method in each 10 by 10 block, it always comes up in the bottom left hole. And then the stitch will always go down in the top right hole. It comes up in the bottom left because, generally speaking, unless it's on this edge here, it's an empty hole, and it goes down in the top right because that is a hole that is occupied, and that if I was to bring the stitch up, there's a chance that it might fluff or loosen the stitch that's already there. So with me doing this in the 10 by 10 block, as I say, I'm doing it sort of snake method, left to right, right to left. Odd numbered rows, so row 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9 are left to right, even numbered rows are right to left. But I will work this sort of stitch by stitch along each row unless I can see that I can work in a stitch in a row underneath, that I can bring it up through an empty hole and down through an occupied one. That you might see as I go along. So I might not always stick to the working a stitch at a time each row. It might be I work a few stitches in that row, then I can sort of jump back and work a couple of stitches because I can put them in up through an empty hole and down through an occupied one. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in fairly close to this square so that you can see what's happening. And I'll also explain what I do when I'm finishing off a thread as well. And it's really handy because the first stitch is a single stitch. So this thread I will be finishing. So it's already up through the bottom left hole where the thread has been parked. If my needle will ever thread today, that would be a good start. Okay, so the first thing on this one, I'll complete the stitch. Now, because I want to fasten this thread off, what I'll do is I'll go into the next square down. I will be at least 10 stitches down from the stitch. The reasons for that will become clear. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be on the level row with that stitch. I can be a row or 2 along. So for this one, I'm going to park it here. So I'm going to bring it up through the top right for parking and then go down but over 2 stitches so it cannot possibly be mistaken for a tent stitch. The idea of this method is that I'm not going to flip my hoop at all. So I will bring the thread up a few holes down and I will cut the thread about 1.5 inches away. So I've got about 1.5 inches tail of thread, and that will stay there until I'm ready to cut that thread off, which you'll see going forward. So I'm just going to literally chitter chatter through what I'm doing. Okay, so next one, thread picked up. Okay, so this one is going to be parked, and it's going to be parked here, just 2 rows down. On row 3, stitch 3. So that's that. Okay. This might seem a very laborious method of doing it, but I think it aids in how even the stitches look. So if you just look here, you see the stitches are nice and even. And I think that this method does aid that. So stitch 3, row 1, part into stitch 4, row 2. It's, you know, definitely on this one, parking is essential, and, you know, to be able to sort of get to grips with parking. As you can see, I have a lot of threads knocking about on this piece. So I've got 2 stitches for this one, and this thread is also going to be fastened off. So I'm not normally wasteful of thread. What I will do is that if there's a good amount left, like there is on this one, there's about 6 inches of thread, I'll pop it back on my floss card, because certainly for other projects that I'm doing 1/1, you know, sometimes a short length of thread is handy, or a shorter length of thread is handy. So let's pop that back on the card. Okay, so stitch number 6. Right, so this one, this will show you now what happens with regards to these part ones, these part ends, should I say. Okay, so I've got a stitch here, and then I've got a stitch at the end of the row. Now, because the next stitch is stitch 9 on row 2, I can do that because it's in a clean hole and down an occupied one. And then the next stitch is this one here, so I can also stitch that one in through a clean one and down an occupied one. So then I can park my thread here for the next stitch. I could do that stitch, but because I've got a mess of park threads there, I'm going to leave it. But I don't know if you saw that, because I'm not quite sure if it did go off camera. But what happened is I did this stitch, I've done that stitch, I've done the stitch underneath, and then I've done this stitch. The thread between this stitch and this stitch is helping to secure this thread, which I am ending. So let me just flip my work. I never do this. Let me just focus this in, because it's quite heavy actually. Let me just bring it down. So this is the underside of the block I'm doing. So as you can see there, we've got a thread which is across here where this end is. That might be the wrong block, it might be this block, but that's how it's working. So that's what's happening. And as you can see, the back of it is almost like a carpet. Right, let's go back to the other side. I'm really hoping that this makes sense. So in another couple of rows time, I will then be able to snip off these thread ends. So I'll carry on stitching. So we've got those 2, and then we park it here, because although this hole is occupied, the stitch hasn't been done yet. It will be now though. I very, very rarely on this piece work outside of this method because it is very easy for me with tent stitch to get confused with my counting. I don't want to get into a pickle. And for me, that would be very easy. I'm used to the full cross, and I don't think it's, I don't know if any of you guys would agree, I don't think it's as easy to count tent stitch as it is to count full crosses. So with this one, I can go 1, 2, move thread out of the way, come on, 3 stitches. Okay, so I'm ready to end this thread. But as this thread certainly now has got enough behind it to anchor it. So what I'm going to do, bring this one up and end that one. So because I have done a few stitches here, which is put thread across the back of this one, we can snip this one out. So I pull it tight and snip it so that it'll go back under the work. Yes, okay, you've still got probably a 1/2 inch tail, but as I keep stitching, that tail will get caught in. So continue. I'm really sorry, the lighting's awful. I've had to kind of pick my time to do this between noise from next door, washing machine being on, and lots of other bits going on. It's Mothering Sunday here in the UK as well. You know, just finding a moment to sit in peace and do this. But I did promise that the next time I had this piece out on the frame, I would show this. So here, come on, here with this one, because I'm now picking up this stitch, it's starting to secure that thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, right, so okay, can't finish that stitch again because the hole is that the stitch would go down in is not occupied. So if I just show you Pattern Keeper at this stage, you'll see that there are no completed stitches with a non-completed square to the top right in this block. So that's what I'm aiming for. Okay, continue. What have I got here? Okay, so this one. So even though I'm not working row by row, I'm still sticking with the same method of how these stitches are going in. And as I'm sure you can see, it does turn out quite neat. One, 2, 3, yeah. And of course, you still have to count. I think, you know, once you've done this for a little while, as I have, you kind of get used to it and it becomes automatic. And you learn, you know, about how it should look. Come on. And if I could pick up just 2 strands at a time though, wouldn't it? So I'm a quarter of a way through this block as it stands. I can't thread my chuffing needle again, do you know? Right, that. Okay. Right, so this next one will be another one that's finished, and I'm still only on the second row down. So at this point, I am not confident that the first stitch I finished has had enough coverage yet. So I'm not going to snip it off. So what I'm going to do is this, and I'm going to park it next door in the hope that in a couple of passes, it'll be secure. Okay. And this one is to be finished. Andy, can you just check family chat, please? Because I'm getting messages coming through, but Facebook's not loading on my laptop. And I can't see them while I'm recording. Thank you. Okay. 400. No. No, it's Mother's Day. No. Okay. Right, so we're starting off row 3. Well, continuing row 3. Okay. I really don't think that it matters, you know, whether it's sort of straight down or slightly across, because at the end of the day, all of the thread ends will get caught in. I think as well, since I've restarted this, doing it in 10 by 10 squares has left me a bit more flexibility with parking, because I will park in the adjacent or underneath or diagonally across square, you know, one square either side, if there isn't a park thread of that colour in it already, like what I'm doing here. So not every thread has to be ended. Okay. I might have gone the wrong way on this row, but it doesn't matter so much because I'm still keeping to my method. And then that thread's getting parked. there's only one thread left in this colour, but as tempting as it would be to just complete that thread and end it, I'm not going to do that, because I have done it once or twice before and I haven't liked how that thread's looked. Now I'm happy that this one has been covered enough in the back, so that one can go. Okay. I hope this is making sense. I'm not a teacher, and this isn't a, you know, recognized method, but it's how I do it, and it works for me. Now, if it works for somebody else, like my starting and ending threads on my normal stitching, then great. If it doesn't, and you think, nope, that's too chaotic for me, then fine, you know, no problem at all. I know that what works for some people doesn't work for others. So I'm going to get rid of a couple of these now, because although I haven't made many passes, I think I've made enough. And with the passes I'll be doing going back, those ends will secure. And also this one is in one that's ending, I think. Oh no, I can park this one. No, this one will be ending. Oh no, no, as you were, I can park it. Park it in the next block. Super relaxing as well, stitching it in this way. But it is a little bit, it takes a longer time. But I think that the end result of how the stitching looks, it's worth it. If I was doing block by block on full coverage, what I'd probably do is start from the bottommost park thread in the box and work my way up to the top, working those threads in. But this one, it's definitely a case of have to go from the top down and take it steady, you know, focus. So again, at least 10, usually a little bit more, about 13 or 14 holes away. See, these stitches can't possibly be mistaken for the actual tent stitches. which is, you know, obviously as well very helpful. This is definitely taking longer than the other starting and ending my threads video. I'm at 25 minutes already. And 25 minutes and I'm only 50 stitches in on this block. So, you know, when I can stitch full crosses at sort of 250 an hour, you can definitely tell that this is more time consuming, more thought required, more concentration required. But it'll look great when it's done. Although I think I'll be in my 80s when this piece is done. According to the last count on Stitch Pal, I'll be in my 80s. Of course, the other thing that you have to make sure is that your threading up game is on point as well, because it's a lot of threading and rethreading. Luckily, I don't mind. Okay. Okay, right, so this stitch, because I'm going right to left on this row, this is going to cover the back of this part, this ended one again. So there, and then the next stitch of it is right over here. And then we are back over here. Okay, and then right to left row. So this is one of those ones, you see. So the next stitch is right next to this one. But I can do it because this hole is occupied. However, the next one I can't. So I'll park. And because now I'm happy that this one is secured, shredded the thread, look. I'll take that out. Okay. Okay, one, and then one underneath, which is the only stitch on the next row. I'm guessing that some of you will come in and comment on this one saying, oh, all those part threads, I couldn't cope with it. I'm a little bit OCD, if I'm honest. but I can manage with these park threads absolutely fine. But then again, I've been doing this a while, so all I can say is, you know, try it. You might like it. If you like order and routine, even with the massive park threads, this method might just be for you. It might just tick a box. It is a long way though. It's a long method though of doing a project that's nearly 1,000,000 stitches. Tent stitching, I don't think, certainly when you're doing it this way, is any quicker than normal cross stitch. But I can't cross country tent stitch. My brain just won't have it. My brain says, are you absolutely kidding? And I've seen lots of people stitch tent stitch cross country, like Darren, Dizzy Stitcher. Can't do it. My brain can't manage diagonal stitching, actually truly on the diagonal. But I'm going to have a bash at that next year with one of my Gecko Rouge kits. So probably with one of the square ones. And, you know, and if it doesn't work, I can just convert it to another way, to my way. Or I might even do it with the ring. The ring, with the one ring might be better. See, I changed my mind. Andy's laughing at me over in the corner there.
Yeah, well, the one ring. I'm thinking Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings one ring that I bought the other week. Did you forget about that one? The one that you told me to buy?
I wasn't really listening, so
right.
I thought you was on about something to do with stitching.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, other than Lord of the Rings.
Don't get you. Explain it to me later.
All right.
Okay. Sorry, just threading up. I'd hate to think how many times I've threaded and unthreaded my needle just on this piece. Lots of shades of oranges and yellows in this one. You know, if you get a square that's got like 3 colours in it, you're well away. You can do it in 20 minutes. This one I've been doing it, well, I'm up to 35 minutes now nearly. Mind you, you can take off a couple of minutes for the talking at the top of the video. Okay, 5 stitches in, 4 rows up. On the 4th row. Yep, there. And your brain has to work out where to bark. Okay. So probably make better sense than my stitch with me's anyway, because on my stitch with me's I'm just kind of getting on with it, or I'm talking, or it's music, or you know, I'm not explaining what I'm doing. So hope my fingers haven't gotten in the way too much. That's the problem with working it very close up. Very easy for your hands to get in the way, and I've still got fairly big hands, although they have got a little bit thinner because my rings are looser. I suppose you could use this method with one strand as well. So if you're a one strand stitcher, I'm not sure how you would start your thread, because obviously with this one, 2 strands, I always loop start. Nearly there. 15 more stitches and this block will be complete. And then Andy, the lucky thing, gets the job of processing this video for me. Oh. It's just like an extra stitch with me, this, isn't it? Oh, only a few more stitches to go. Just finish up this last row. Oh, that'll be the phone. Hope that hasn't jarred too much. Just had a telephone call us interrupt us. But anyway, we're nearly there. Oh. Managed to unthread my needle. That's good. Two more stitches and then we are done. So that is how I start and end my threads and how I actually stitch this tent stitch parking. I hope it's taken some of the mystery out and, you know, answers your questions. Part that in the next block. But as you can see, I think personally it does make the stitching look really neat. So if you can handle a few park threads and you're doing some tent stitch, this might be the way that you try it. So yeah, so there we go. So that's all from me today. Thank you very much indeed for having a look at this video. All right, so take care everybody, bye bye, and thanks for watching. Happy stitching. Ta-ra for now.